an exclusive conversation from Tehran. I'm being joined by Seyed Emamian, who is a co-founder of Governance and Policy think tank, also a professor who teaches in Tehran. Thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global, sir. Let's begin with the unfortunate news. Our deepest condolences to the people of Tehran. But how is Tehran, how's the administration looking at this unfortunate news of the sudden death of President Raisi as also the foreign minister of Iran?
Okay, thank you for inviting me, and I would like to thank the Indian people and government for being with Iranians during these very sad moments, and also particularly with the Indian government, because they have announced 1 day of mourning to keep sympathy with the Iranians. And it's very interesting and a sign of the friendship between two governments and two nations, that they have civilizational tradition, and they have been in touch with each other for centuries. So the tragedy was very sad for the Iranians. It's not the first time. It has happened several times in the last few decades, particularly in post-revolutionary era. But this time was very unfortunate, because we are in a very critical situation now. But legal-wise, everything is clear now. Based on the Constitution, the deputy president is going to run the government during the transitional period. And during 50 days of transitional period, there is a council including the deputy president, the head of parliament, and the head of judiciary system, that they are responsible to hold a presidential election and to clarify the next candidates and the next president after 50 days transitional.
Right. Professor, the fact
so everything is clear in terms of the legal framework, and also there are some other aspects that we could discuss if you are asking about.
Right, but there are larger issues over here, a lot of questions with regards to who Ebrahim Raisi was, how important he was for the supreme leader, and in the succession plans that his name was also as importantly put as Mojtaba Khamenei's. Is there going to be a vacuum there when it comes to succession plans? Could there be a problem within Iran when it comes to the succession plans?
Actually, I've missed your first sentences, and if I wondered if you could repeat your question again. Just
I was asking about succession plans.
I will answer to that.
I was asking about succession plans. What happens to the succession plan of the supreme leader? We know that the two very important names were Ebrahim Raisi's and Mojtaba Khamenei's. But now with Ebrahim Raisi gone, should we take it for granted?
If you can hear me well, I will answer to your question. First of all, I would like to say that based on the Constitution, there are two completely different and separate procedures for succeeding late president and succeeding supreme leaders. There is no such a connection between these two, first of all. Secondly, there are some speculation. There is no such even one evidence that one of the public council that they have mentioned someone like Raisi or Mojtaba Khamenei as potential successor of the supreme leader. There are only speculation, mainly started initiated by some US-based outlines and newsletters. rather than anything on the ground. And so, legally speaking, there is no such a name mentioned in any relevant public authorities regarding the either Raisi or Mustafa Khamenei. In terms of the
Okay.
Raisi himself, because he was also part of the council, expert council that is in charge of the appointing the successor of the supreme leader, he was in the process. He was part of the process. But no one has, still in my experience, no one has clearly mentioned about the Mustafa Khamenei, particularly because Iranian political system is not a kind of the kingdom-like political system with a royal family. So there is very less likely that that anyone could say about a son of supreme leader as a successor of the supreme leader. There are some constitutional elements that could be evaluated by expert council, not now, and there is no relationship with the presidency and presidential election and the supreme leader election. But the supreme leader appointments is going to be done based on the constitution by expert council once a supreme leader has died or has passed away or has been unable to do his job. But no one has mentioned until now Mustafa Khamenei because, as I said, the Iranian tradition, political tradition, is to some extent against the royal family style of succession. So
Okay. So no
there are
dynastic
more
politics.
speculative, yeah, there is more speculation rather than something on the ground. Yeah.
Okay. Before I go to the unfortunate accident and what the cause could be, there are investigations. Before we touch upon that, if Professor Emamian, if you could just talk about Ibrahim Raisi, the person that he was, his family background, his family, wife, children, what legacy does Ibrahim Raisi leave behind? If you could talk about his personal life as well, and what is it that he used to do before he actually came into political life.
If you are talking about his administrative and political legacy, I would say that Ebrahim Raisi was not particularly a divisive political figure. He was someone that has been well respected by all political party figures and kind of the coalitions. So you could find several political figures from different corners of Iranian politics. They have sent a condolences letter that, and all of them have have mentioned that ethical politics. So I was in touch with Raisi before his presidential time, as sometimes as advisor, as academics, or sometimes I was in charge of the regulatory body, and he was at the charge of judiciary system. And so, as a regulator, I was always in touch with judiciary system. So I have had some personal experience of working with him, not as a minister, of course, mainly before his presidential era, but I found him not a normal politician because normal politicians normally they are starting politics by appointing someone as rival or as competitor and attacking the other side of the politics. But Ebrahim Raisi was was very far away from a divisive political figure. He was very much ethical. Someone was saying at the time that Raisi is doing such a style of the political behavior because he is thinking about being a leader afterwards, not as a normal president to attack the rivals, to do normal and usual politics. But I would
Right.
say it was his own personality. He was not divisive. He was very ethical, very inclusive. He was very he was not aggressive at all, and at the same time, he was not a popular figure, as we call it, populist. He was not a populist politician because normally populist politicians they are trying to polarize society, to polarize
There are
society
many,
and
who
presenting
call him
themselves.
actually a polarizing figure. There are many who call him divisive because of his hardline policies and ideology. In fact, there are reports that have come in that there were certain quarters within Iran where there were celebrations. There certainly were across many parts of Europe. How do you look at this accusation that he was indeed a polarizing and divisive figure and too hardline for the moderates? And there have been celebrations within Tehran as well.
Mm. Actually, in terms of the what you call it celebration, I never seen anything personally. I am now within the university, American University, at the heart of the Tehran. Now I am in my office, and I'm going to my home through the downtown. But I never seen such a thing. I won't accuse that someone that they are lying. But yes, Iran is very big society, diversified politically, and they may happen somewhere, but it's not something that visible in Tehran and in other cities.
Okay.
Because, as I said, Raisi was not a divisive figure. But in terms of his politics, yes, he was very close to the what's called revolutionary political camp. He was very loyal to the revolutionary values. And particularly with his background in judiciary, he has always been criticized by some part of the particular political opposition. But within just if you are going beyond the opposition, that they are mainly outside the country, within the country, even with the reformists, like Muhammad Khatami, Jawad Zarif, Rouhani, and other politicians, reformist
Yes.
politicians, most of them they have conveyed their respect to the Raisi's personality in
What about
comparison to
his
the
family?
other presidents.
What about his family, his wife, his children? We've not heard anything about them. What about them? What's the? I know it is. They must be in shock. But is there anything that has trickled out about his family?
Actually, I know his wife because she is a professor at Shahid Beheshti University, and because I'm academics also, I know her as a senior academics in education policy. She is very active. She before even years and decades before Raisi's presidential era, she had been very academically active and socially and politically a very inspiring woman. I never had chance to send a message of sympathy to her, but I will do this this evening. But I don't know his children. As far as I know, he has two daughters. Both are married now. But the most active person of his family was his wife, as I said, even before his presidential time. Yes.
Going back to the accident itself, Professor Emamian, the fact that there were three helicopters, but only the one carrying the president and the foreign minister and the delegation crashed. Investigations have been ordered, and even as that is happening, former Foreign Minister Jawad Zarif has already blamed America for it because of the sanctions and the fact that these helicopters could not get the spare parts and repair as they should have. Is that the only angle that we should be looking at, or is Iran also looking at maybe other areas of outside interference? We've seen too many leaders of Iran be killed or fall with foreign interference and meddling in foreign hand.
Mm. Actually, based on the history, we have Iranian politicians have been, as you mentioned, several times targeted by the foreign agents, particularly Israeli agents. Israel is acting very actively terrorism and practicing terrorism inside other countries, including Iran. That's their profession. Is something that they have been known for, and they have always proud of being terrorist state. But in this case, I never heard any evidence. I'm not expert of the security expert, and I'm not expert in aerospace. So just I never heard any evidence, any reliable evidence. Just everything as far as we have heard from some witnesses on other helicopters and other two helicopters that there was a kind of the specific weather happened, weather situation happened, and two other helicopters they were able to escape from that situation with a very challenging maneuver. But the Raisi's helicopter went inside the specific situation of the weather, and it was missed then. So there was no such evidence with regards to any assassination or any attack to the helicopter, as far as I have heard. As I said, I'm not an expert either in aerospace or in security.
Finally, before I let you go, Professor Emamian, the fact that this is a huge loss for Iran. Iran has been in the middle of a lot of conflicts in the region, particularly the Israel-Hamas war. And we do know that Ebrahim Raisi and the foreign minister were quite closely working on how to support Palestinians. In such a scenario, do you see a continuum of support from Iran going into Hamas or Gaza or the Palestinian territories, or are we going to see a step back that Iran will take?
Actually, as you may know, Iranian foreign policy has been based on the constitution, has been set by the supra-governmental councils like Expediency Council and National Security Council, and as it's going to be legal once those policy was endorsed by supreme leader, and the different governments are responsible to technically implement the policies. So the strategic policy is not going to be shifted, as far as I know. While in previous occasions, particularly once the General Soleimani was assassinated, was terrorized by the Trump's administration, General Soleimani himself personally was very important from a technical point of view, as he was the man in front line. But after him, even after him, you can't see any shift in Iranian support to the resistance movements and to particularly supporting for the Palestinian and Palestinian for their rights. So I won't see, because as far as I know, from this point of view, the assassination of the General Soleimani was much more important than the current accident. Domestically, current accident is much more important, but foreign-wise, and from international point of view, the assassination of the General Soleimani was very much important and a strategic assassination. But the Iranian strategy with regards to the Palestine and the Palestinian rights has never shifted at all. So I won't see any shift in this regard, but I would say that there is a legacy of a technical legacy of Raisi's administration, and particularly Amir Abdullahian as Minister of Foreign Affairs, that he was personally very loyal and very close to the resistance leaders in the region because of his personal diplomatic career heritage. So they may see some technical shifts, but there won't be any strategic shift at all.
Okay, no specific shift, maybe only a few technical shifts. On that note, thank you so much, Professor Emamian, for joining us over here and letting us know what this loss really means for Iran, what it could mean for the region, and certainly how the international community is looking at the situation in Iran. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.